back in the house. Yes, indeed, as per usual. And as I told you guys, I would be dropping some hot fire this week. So I just want to let you know I'm a man of my word, in case you didn't already know. But I do have some plans this week, some important engagements to attend to. But I did want to make a point to go ahead and knock out a few fire videos this week, and that's what I've come to do. So, we might have to make this a series, guys, because apparently this Exoticals United, aka the Joker or Jokeress, to be more, I guess, gender specific. Um, she's kind of on a tear with this one woman show of a propaganda machine. Is really funny. And like I said, I don't have a problem with her being out here doing this because we like to have a counterweight to demonstrate the cogent nature of our talking points and our ideology. So I think she's the perfect villain in this story. That's the reason why she is the Joker or Jokeress in the KRU. So um, I definitely like to have the opportunity to show you guys how we dissect things around here. And, you guys really enjoyed the last dissection that I did um, with regard to, exposing the foolery and the falsehood and the fake facts that she was putting out in terms of decentering men and all of that. And again, we have to reiterate that we don't really give a damn about them so-called decentering, but we just wanted to deconstruct the false narratives that are surrounding their loony ideas. And that's what we do. We're not emotionally invested or anything like that, because some people get it twisted. They think just because you're talking about these issues that somehow you're just concerned, because like I said, the philosophy over here with the Night Riders, you guys know what it is. If not, go back and watch the video, Manalytics episode 6, where I break it all down. So there's no need to reiterate that tonight. I don't want to be too long, but I am going to be strong. So we're going to get into it. And I do want to mention, though, our last broadcast, you guys really enjoyed it as well. You told me it was fire. You told me it was a great broadcast. But, I'm a little bit of a stickler for, quality production. And we made sure that we did the um, investment and the resource and the time to get down to the issue. And I think we won't be having that problem in the, going forward. So as you can tell by what you're going to be hearing tonight or whenever you watch this video, um, that we definitely make sure that the production is back on point. So, the service and the quality that you've come to expect when you come over and check out the Night Riders. So I do thank you guys for rocking with me. Even though, we're utilizing this new software, so we're just, just kind of a learning curve. And I got some good people on the team, and we just, make sure that we kind of work things through to make sure that things are moving smoothly. So, um, I did notice on the previous live that we did, even though you guys did enjoy it, I think they cut a nice chunk of it out, because when it got through, it was supposed to be around and 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that, but it got down to 2:06. And if you'll notice, it was kind of cut off before I got to some of my core points. Apparently, maybe somebody didn't like what I said. I don't know. Maybe it was just a technical glitch. I don't know. But tonight, I'm going to kind of um, hit those hard points that I made. So rest assured, we're going to put in the heavy work as per usual. So just sit tight, and you know we're doing this for the edification of like-minded people. We're not trying to convince anybody, because we understand that people get into their intellectual pigeonholes, and we're not trying to convince anybody of anything. We know how sound our points are. They're irrefutable. And as I said, this Exoticals United, aka the Joker, is a very good um, soundboard in which to bounce our ideas off of. So that's kind of how we're using her. Um, because we don't really expect her to try to do any rebuttals, just like she did in the last time we dissected her. So she just likes to go out there and talk to her rather pedestrian followers. But anyway, that's a subject for another broadcast. But let's get into this work. I'm going to pick up kind of where I left off with this little goofy video that she made, and I may reiterate some of the points that I made, but I'm gonna bring in some other points that you guys didn't hear because, like I said, I didn't get a chance to get to it because of the nature of the broadcast because we were having those issues. But we have no such issues on this occasion, so sit tight and get ready for this work. So let me go ahead without any further ado. We already got her queued up right here. So let's get it.
Welcome back to the Storytime series. This have been telling our stories for us, unambiguous Black women and men. This is where I give the exhaust. Hey, Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the Storytime series. This is where I give the exoticals a chance to tell our stories because for years, unambiguous Black women and men have been telling our stories for us. They've been speaking on our behalf, and so I'm
Okay, it's like I pointed out last time. Nobody's been speaking on their behalf against their will. She's acting as though somebody got the quote exoticals in some basement locked down, and we just got them, blindfolded and gagged, and then they can't speak for themselves. And like I said, last time I checked, um, they meaning people who are whether they're biracial, multi-generationally mixed, or what have you, the ones that don't fit within our framework of the 82 by 4 rule, 80% African DNA, two black parents, four black grandparents. They pretty much were the ones who wanted to hitch their wagon to the black experience. And again, I'm not knocking that. I'm cool with some biracial people, and they understand where I stand. It's not that I'm doing and saying these things to be somehow quote divisive or to try to get some type of, oh, you can't be like me, narcissistic supply, wanting people to kind of, bow and scrape just to be a part of the quote team. No, we're talking in real facts. We're talking in terms of historic accuracy. We're talking about um, getting rid of the legacy and the disparaging things that have come about as a result of this one drop rule. And it's kind of weird that she would even try to frame things as if somebody was forcing biracials or all these other non-black people to be spoken for by actual black people. It's kind of weird, but again, I don't want to spend too much time breaking down some of the previous points that I made. You can go back and watch the broadcast, but I did want to kind of briefly touch on some of these points again because they do bear repeating and just pointing out the lunacy of what she's trying to say. But let's get some more.
glad that we are finally taking back our voices. So if you have any stories of bullying, pretty girl problems, colorism, texturism, featureism, or even
And once again, we already pointed out the ridiculous AI generated little pictures she has here with her little wet dream of having a bunch of unambiguous, well, in this case, women depicted praising a what appears to be a biracial woman. And like I pointed out before, this is all a function of mental illness. And to the extent you have black women who have that mentality where they want to pedestalize other races of women or just simply because of their proximity to another race, I mean that speaks to a very sick mentality and self-hate, and that is only relevant to people who, as I said, are mentally ill. And those of us who are unambiguous and we understand who we are and we know our true value. This is foolery, essentially, and that's the reason why none of her talking points, have any weight in terms of what our position, what our position is, because it's just based on a distortion of history, a distortion of genetics, and I'm going to get into that. We're going to go heavy tonight. Like I said, I keep saying tonight, but you may be listening to this in the morning or whatever time you're listening to it. I guess that's the night writer in me. But anyway, um, we are going to just break all this foolery down. And again, I don't want this to be too long, so let's get some more of this work.
If you have a confession you want to make. So, for example, do you have a superiority complex? Have you ever stolen anybody's man? Have you ever utilized any of your privileges to get more of an opportunity in life? If so, please email me at exoticalsunited at
Yeah, please email her if you want to share those ridiculous little things that she's asking right there. And again, if you guys, even if you don't agree with her, I'm sure she wouldn't mind hearing what's on your mind if you are so inclined to send her an email. But let's go.
gmail.com because this is the most important series on this channel.
If that's the most important series, that speaks to the lack of value on that channel. But let's go.
The thing that people get mad about the most is the fact that the exoticals are
But here's another one of these goofy pictures. So again, this is historically inaccurate, um, because there was never a point in time where there were, if you're speaking about cultures such as ancient Kemet, Nubia, where the people themselves had not been invaded or something like that, or some other group come in all those ancient uh, unambiguous black civilizations, as a function of your royal lineage and your pedigree, you had to be of pure blood. You couldn't have been mixed. So there was never a point in time, other than when there was maybe some colonial invasions, or just like with what happened in the later years of the Kemetic dynasties. You had Cleopatra, who was essentially mixed. People still like to say that she was black, as if she was unambiguous, but no, she was actually mixed. She was from the Ptolemy branch of the Greeks, but that was later. That's why a lot of these Eurocentricists and white supremacists and so forth, so they're like focusing on the latter years of Egypt, not the thousands of years that it was ran by black people. They want to, talk about it towards the end of its power, as it became weak, and as all these other foreign invaders came in. So, it's just kind of weird that she would get her jollies depicting, uh, mixed people on the throne and all these um, unambiguous people around her. It just is not even historically accurate. But we don't expect a historic accuracy from the Joker. But let's go.
taking back our own identities and we're finally speaking out for ourselves. So nobody
And again, we all know she's grifting. She's barely mixed herself. She, her original form, she looked unambiguous by all accounts. So we're just kind of playing along with her little cosplay, and to the extent we're taking her serious in terms of her talking points, is just for the case of showing how strong our counterpoints are. So we just kind of got to play along with it, with her little masquerade, but you know what it is. Let's get it.
else can speak on our behalf. But this exotical says, "Hi EU, I'm a Habesha girl who recently came across your YouTube channel a couple months ago and have been binging your content and have been subscribed ever since. I just wanted to thank you for including East Africans in your content because, upon reflection, many of our experiences do sometimes mirror what biracial, mixed, or light skinned women go through, even though we are typically a monoracial and unmixed group of people." Yeah, this
Okay, so whoever wrote that is very much so ignorant to their own history, and we've already shown it. I didn't get a chance to go into it as much as I wanted to, because like I said, we're having some technical issues. But tonight I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean. So for this person who wrote this, who says she's Habesha, to be so ignorant of her own history. And if she sees this video, she can, thank me later for the education. But Habishas are definitely mixed, and I'm going to prove it. But again, a lot of these people from the Horn of Africa, they don't understand that they are part of a miscegenation zone. They like to try to claim that they're as if they're 100% African, and it's nothing can be further from the truth. They are, unfortunately for them and their, you know, personal psyche, the descendants of colonialists. They don't like to think about it, and they get upset once they find out. And I'm going to prove it. And in fact, I'm going to show you guys something that a lot of people know intrinsically, but they have never really thought about. And I'm going to prove it. And that is that the genetic standard is being an African. And I'm going to prove what I'm saying, because even though what we're looking at in terms of the position of Africa and Africans in the world right now is a function of a distorted socioeconomic position, but from a genetic standpoint, everybody wants to be African, and I'm going to show you. I'm not just talking, I'm going to prove it. You know, we bring receipts over here, but just stay tuned. But this woman, this Habesha, allegedly, that says that she's non-mixed, again, that just shows how ignorant she is. And a lot of them are in that part of the world. And Exoticals United, being the non-historian that she is, she didn't even have the good sense to even be able to point that out. But let's go.
This channel is supposed to be focused on those who benefit from an ism, so colorism, texturism, or featureism. So usually that's being mixed or quote unquote looking mixed. So a lot of Habeshas, I've actually been mistaken for Habesha myself.
Was that before or after the bleach? Let's get it.
So a lot of people who are Habesha in the United States, that phenotype is going to get mistaken as mixed, or people are going to ask if you're like black and Arab or something, or black and Indian. And that's because East Africans, they don't have the same phenotype as an unambiguous mono dark skinned black woman.
And that's the reason for that is because they're mixed. And again, I was the one that had to point out to these ditzy broads that instead of just saying East African, you had to be specific, because East Africa would include Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Zimbabwe, all these other places that people clearly know that women like this on the screen are there, and you have to specify the Horn of Africa, because it is exclusively the Horn of Africa that had these incursions, whether it be through Arabs or, in the case of Ethiopia, it was even invaded by the Italians. Um, a lot of people like to say that it wasn't colonized, but essentially it was invaded, and there was a lot of things that went on that contributed to the mixture. And with regard to the Habesha, there was a point um, in earlier times that there were um, incursions from the Arabian Peninsula. I'm going to prove all this what I'm saying, but I just wanted to give you a brief summary where they came in and they mixed with the Kushites, and the Kushites are originally very black. In fact, if you look at the Neolithic people, who are very dark, kind of like the ones that's on the screen there, but maybe even darker, they're part of the darkest, most heavenly alienated people. I think they're some of the most beautiful people. Some of the women are gorgeous. I'm going to actually show some videos of those women. And that's going to be another pushback to what Exoticals United is saying, because he keeps wanting to play up the mixed ones as if they're considered the most beautiful. Meanwhile, the models right now that are killing the game are the ones who are from South Sudan. And a lot of them are from the Neolithic stock. But anyway, we're going to get into that a little bit later, but let's get some more of this foolery.
And by the way, my definition of unambiguous came straight from black women empowerment creators themselves. So if anybody wants to argue, you can go argue with Chrissy, go argue with Queen Chama, I am Aloho, go argue with the women who created their own exclusive.
Okay, so like I pointed out in the broadcast, no one has a disagreement in terms of what an unambiguous black person is. And we have a specific standard. Um, as I said, 80% African DNA, two black parents, four black grandparents, somebody else. They can have their standard, but I think ours is very accurate as it pertains to DNA and lineage. But again, she's just kind of, shadow boxing right there. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with anybody. If they're giving an accurate definition of what a unambiguous black person is. But let's go.
Exclusive spaces and told us what the definition is. Honestly, I'm glad that they have created a separation. I'm glad that they have their own exclusive spaces because now we don't have to worry about being associated with the negative stereotypes or the bad branding and bad collective image that a lot of those women built for themselves on their YouTube channels. But this girl says your channel.
And it's like I said before, if the unambiguous black women are smart, then what they will do is also separate themselves from the bad baggage and the slut image of a lot of the exoticals, or as we like to call them affectionately, exoticals, because a lot of those women have been horrible in terms of their image, um, putting themselves out there as the community sluts and so forth. And quite frankly, when you start looking at crime and a lot of things that are going on, there are people who are misrepresented as being black. And then if you really look at their background, and we got evidence of this too, a lot of them are just one droppers. They may have some black lineage somewhere, but they would not fall within the parameters of what we consider to be a black person outside of the one drop rule. So, as I said before, that sword cuts both ways, and she might think that she's, and again, we know she's cosplaying, but she might think that the quote exoticals are somehow getting free of some type of stigmas predicated on them being able to separate themselves. However, I think that actual black people will benefit even more by getting that extra baggage out, because we already have a demonization of our image, simply because of the desire for other groups to try to co-opt um, our heritage and our lineage and our wealth and the things that we've had in the past. In fact, I just found out, I was going to share it on the broadcast, but I didn't get around to it. Did you guys know that there are even people trying to claim that Mansa Musa, the great black unambiguous black man who was considered to be the wealthiest man in history, there's some deranged white supremacists trying to claim he was white. So now you guys start to understand why it's so important to delineate and to make sure that we are very clear about especially unambiguous black people's achievements throughout history. And even the people who understand that, say, the ancient Nubians and ancient Egyptians were black and they were unambiguous, I might add, um, I would challenge them to make sure that they understand the need to make sure that they depict them if they're doing documentaries and so forth, because they normally do. Even the one drop Negroes who like to say that mixed people and so forth are black, if they ever do a documentary or if they ever need to talk about ancient civilizations, they make damn sure to depict those people as actual unambiguous black people. Because if you show them as mixed, then that leaves a huge gap open for everybody else to claim them. If someone's quote unambiguous, then goddamn it, they could be anybody, right? So that's the reason why you need to have a separation. And for my biracial people who rock with me, you understand the necessity for us to do that, because I did make a concession for people who may be of a different lineage. If they're biracial but they rock with black people, there's still an association that can happen. You just have to understand the necessity for us as actual black people to make these type of distinctions, because everybody's trying to grift and take what's ours, and that's the reason why this is important. But anyway, we'll talk about that at a later date, but let's go.
Channel opened up my eyes and taught me to stop humbling myself on a subconscious level, and that there's nothing wrong with using my God given features to get ahead in life, whatever way I decide to social climb. I apologize in advance if this email ends up being too long because I have so much to say on this particular topic and it honestly sickens me to my stomach. I love when you guys send long emails. A lot of the short emails, they get overlooked because, if it's just 2 sentences, that's not enough for a YouTube video. So I like when you guys send the long story times. But she says, I think it's no secret at this point that Habasha and Horn African women more broadly on the internet are constantly being over sexualized by dark skinned, unambiguous black men.
Okay, so it's like I pointed out before. She's basing this on, she's gonna go on to talk about where she's getting this from, and she's basing it on some comments that she's getting because obviously she might be on her Instagram thirst trapping or what have you, and you get, all kind of goofy people leaving comments. So she's gonna take that and run with it and assume that everybody who's making these comments are some unambiguous dark skinned dude. And it's like I teach you guys, you shouldn't even be running on to someone's Instagram if you don't know them, leaving goofy ass thirsty comments because there are dudes that do that, but that's across the board. We're not gonna single out unambiguous dark skinned dudes as the only ones doing this, like these goofy broads are doing. Now, to be sure, I'm sure there may be some people leaving those comments, but for her to pigeonhole this to being just unambiguous dark skinned black men is ridiculous. And like I pointed out before, to the extent that there are some um, self-hating people, both men and women, who like to elevate these people from these other groups simply because of their admixture, that's a function of mental illness and self-hate. And typically it comes from the unambiguous black women who were raised propagandized to hate themselves. And we understand the historic reasons for this. We understand the current media machine behind it. We get all of that. However, that does not negate the responsibility of these women to start embracing their own standard and to teach their children to love themselves. And the fact that they have been so abysmal failures at doing that is the reason why you have the men who are possibly chasing those type of women. Some of it might be personal preference, I get that, but in some cases when you have the guys who are just so thirsty, and I would argue that it's a smaller percentage than what they're trying to let on, because you to hear them tell it, damn it, all of us is chasing behind them trying to impregnate them, which is ridiculous. Some of us actually want children that look like ourselves, right? But they will sit up there and try to make it seem like every dark skinned man on the planet wants to merge our dominant genes with their recessive genes. So it's kind of ridiculous, but let's go.
To be honest, I mostly see this kind of behavior being done by African American and West African men.
And like I said before, I didn't get a chance to get to that point, but I do have a video that's going to push back and dispel this myth, because she's claiming it's African American men and West African men specifically, as if no other men, including white men, who I pointed out are the ones who created the whole thirst industry in terms of corn, with the P, um, OnlyFans, all these other outlets for men to jerk themselves off to you know to sleep at night. They want to make it seem as though black men are the ones that are over sexualizing every damn body, when we are responsible for precisely none of these industrial scale um industries that literally turn women into nothing more than dumpsters for men's fluids. So, it's just kind of insane that we have to keep pushing back at this propaganda, but we're here for it because that's what we do over here. And as I said, we are an anti propaganda channel, and we ain't about no gender war. So, y'all can miss us with that. Ain't no gender war, because the other communities have been effective for years of disproving a lot of these feminist talking points and all these points, such as what EU likes to spew every 5 minutes. So we're not rehashing any of that. What we're doing at this point is what happens just like after a war such as World War II, when the Germans and the Japanese had to be re-educated and they were, propagandized into the war initially and subsequently lost. So the Allies had to go in and pretty much re-educate the populace, and that's what we're doing over here. But let's go.
Things have literally gotten to a point where you can't even open a comment section under a post on social media related to Horn African culture, dance, or people, or anything else, without seeing literally dozens and dozens of weird ass comments of these men just thirsting so hard like desperate dogs.
Okay, so again, this is the evidence that she's using to determine that unambiguous dark skinned men are just chasing them. And like I said before, what is the anecdotal evidence in real life? Not some thirsty dude in his basement online leaving comments, because we all know that people leave comments and they don't even necessarily move like that in the real world. People say any damn thing on the internet, right? I mean, I've had some of the most crazy comments and emails myself from women, from exoticals, right? So you don't want to play that game, because I've had exoticals sending me all kind of crazy stuff. But I don't take that to mean that every single exotical is going to be doing that, right? But they're so ridiculous in their lack of logic that they will take some comments in the comment section and try to extrapolate that to an experience that they're probably not even having in real life. It's really sad and sick, but let's go.
Talking about I want one, talking about us as if we are just something to possess or have like an object up for sale. Or do they like dark skinned African American men? Oh my God, that's so similar to the divested black women. They'll comment under white men's posts and be like, do you like chocolate? Do you like dark skinned women?
And like I said before, guys, this is cap, because we all know that black men don't even necessarily move like that. Um, when it comes to this self-hate thing, when it comes to like women who are unambiguous, and because they have a lot more insecurities, that's the reason why in the to the tune of billions of dollars they're spending all this money to, bleach themselves, something that EU might know a little bit about. um you don't have the equivalent for black men. You do have some, particularly men in the Caribbean, like Jamaica and other places, where I believe they have a bleaching issue, but that's kind of more regional. But black men typically don't have those types of insecurities. Oh, do you like a dark skinned man? Because as dark skinned men, we know we can get it. And we don't have a problem attracting women. So that's a weird thing for a dark skinned dude to say. We're actually pretty sought after, to be honest. So it's funny that she's trying to equate how black men move to a lot of these women, which unfortunately we understand that a lot of these women, um, due to their um, experiences in the society, such as in the West, they do have a higher level of self hate. But to the extent that there are men who suffer similar insecurities, and we're not denying that there are some, it's not as numerous. And to the extent that it does exist, it's typically those men who were taught that by their mom. And I've used this example before. If you take someone like Matthew Knowles, the father of Beyonce Knowles, and if you've seen him before, he's a relatively dark skinned man. Um, he said on record that it was his mother who told him specifically, and his mother was a dark skinned, unambiguous black woman that was obviously full of self hate, told him specifically not to bring no dark skinned, nappy headed woman home. To which he replied by bringing home Tina Knowles and seeking after white women, right? So, but this was a function of generational self hate because of propaganda, because of black women's failure to be able to have the integrity necessary to embrace their own natural phenotype and to teach that to their children. Now, Matthew Knowles is just a high profile example, but there are other examples of men like that as well who may have those sentiments. But again, to suggest that it's like a large number or even equivalent to the women is a false equivalency. And EU is ridiculous for trying to pull that. But let's go.
But she says they don't date outside their race, they keep to themselves. Like that's what black men are saying about Habeshas. And then they're also saying they would run to a white man first before an African American. Next, just endless complaints about the fact that we don't pick them as partners over men from our own cultures.
Now again, you are cherry picking some of these guys who may be saying that, but you're making it a generalization that does not exist. And again, you don't see that manifested with a large percentage of black men. Case in point, when you have celebrities that date, like for example, a Michael B. Jordan or some of these other black men who are out there in the public and they are dating non-black women. And these black women, typically the unambiguous dark-skinned women, they'll have these hissy fits and they'll start quote canceling people and all of that, not supporting them simply because of their mate selection. Where's the equivalent to that with black men? I'll wait. Because if what she was saying was true, we'd see black men acting out like that. When have you ever heard black men say, "Oh, well, I ain't messing with her because she date white men"? Look, for all of the BS that these women try to put on us, you cannot find one example to justify what they're saying. If what she's saying is true, if it was such an epidemic, if there were so many black men that had this type of insecurity, we would be talking about women like Lupita Nyong'o and all these other black women who have been after with white man after white man. We will still give them props and say, okay, she's attractive, whatever. We'll still go see a movie with them in it. We don't even bring that crap up. We don't equate whether or not someone's dating someone who looks like us as to whether or not we're gonna go to support them. That's exclusively something that black women do. So for this Joker and this stupid commenter, this this woman who wrote this letter, for them to even try to make this equivalency is ridiculous. But let's get it.
My biggest issue is that these men are not genuinely interested. It is simply a fetish over our features because a lot of
Exactly, and so that's a point to which I agree with. And like I said, that is the point. A lot of these guys are just running game. They don't put you on no pedestal. So it's really funny how that actually underscores her whole point with this whole pedalization and this exaltation or whatever it is that she thinks she's getting. These guys are running game, and to the extent you got some guys who have less integrity that we roll with over with the Night Riders, but they'll say and do whatever they need to bust you down, but as soon as they get them cheeks, they back in the streets. They ain't messing with you after that. So that's the funny thing about it. For all this talk about how someone's elevating them and putting them on a pedestal, even at a core level, she understands that it's just a fetish. It's just a fetish. So what part of that is someone putting you on a pedestal or making or you in any way taking that to mean you're better or that someone uh feels like you're superior or something like that. It's kind of weird. Let's go.
them hate how they naturally look and think running to other cultures or races is somehow going to improve their gene pool.
And again, to the extent that there are black men that feel like that, is a very small percentage. I'm not saying there's none. There are some, but it's small to the whole. Most black men, if they want to bust down somebody exotic, it's because that's just something that they want to do. It may be a fetish. It may be a new experience. I don't know. I mean, I've been with exotic women, and to me, it's ain't nothing special about it. So that's the funny thing about all of this. Women are women. So just because her phenotype is a little different, it is what it is. However, there may be a smaller percentage of guys who, because they were raised by their self-hating mama, they might feel that way and say, well, they don't want their kids to be dark skinned like them because of how they were treated. Yeah, you have those instances, of course, but to try to make it out to be like this, you mean to hear them tell it a freaking epidemic, like we're all just running around, like the thumbnail we did for the broadcast. We got guys running over to the Horn of Africa, and like I pointed out, the Horn of Africa is not even in the top 5 of places where guys go. I broke down that list already. But anyway, we're just dissecting this, and we're gonna get into some work. What are we, about 30 some minutes in? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, and I'm just gonna start breaking down some other things in a few. Let's go.
Other ethnic communities have noticed the way they constantly dog out and humiliate and disrespect their own women, and this is extremely
Oh, okay. So it's like, so they want to highlight the things that we say and try to make a false equivalency to how these guys from these other cultures, since we're talking about the Horn of Africa, let's talk about that. How those guys are actually stoning women actually doing all types of things to those women, and you're making an equivalent to how we're factually bringing out the behavior of the women of the communities to which we come from. So somehow that's quote bashing and dogging out the women, right? Even though the most abusive men are the ones from these other cultures. I mean, this is insane.
unattractive behavior to us. Yeah, I will say that ever since Kevin Samuels came out, and ever since I witnessed this gender war between black women and black men, that actually
And again, she keeps bringing up Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels was actually trying to help them. And you're going to equate what Kevin Samuels was doing because he was, quote, harsh by telling you the goddamn truth. All of a sudden, that's the equivalent of some guys over in your home culture doing female circumcisions. You really trying to equate those two? And like I said before, because EU's gonna mention it, the guy, that woman that Kevin said was average at best, she herself said that she was average. He essentially disagreed with her, and everybody and their mama could see that she was average, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, she's just average. Everybody can't be a damn beauty queen, and that's the problem with the society, and that's the reason why you got women deranged like her, going to the extreme of using corsets and bleach and whatever else she's using to try to fit some cookie cutter standardized ideology of what beauty is, and it's really sick. But it's just weird how they're making these false equivalencies, right? Well, let's go.
pushed me further to not even date like unambiguous mono dark skinned black men because I'm like,
Okay, and it's like I told you before, EU, no one gives a flying rat's ass if you date dark skinned black men, because I'm not going to lose any sleep. I'm sure the night riders aren't going to lose any sleep. And in fact, we will thank you because you are sparing some dark skinned, unambiguous man the horror of having to wake up next to the Joker. Now, having said that, many of us don't have a problem getting actual exotic women if that's what we choose. If we want a biracial woman or any other type of woman with actual measurable admixture, without bleach, we can get that. So why would we settle for a cosplaying knockoff when we can have the real thing if that's what we choose? This is ridiculous. Let's get it.
wait a minute, if that's how they treat their own women, and if that's how they talk about women in general, like saying you're a six or you hit the wall and all this crap, I wouldn't want to date those guys either.
Oh, but you wanted to date outside your race, including Asian dudes. Oh yeah, we got some receipts. We got some receipts. Asian guys are notorious for dogging out their women. Latino guys are notorious for dogging out their women. We're talking physical, right? Um, don't even get me started on the white men. But it's just so funny that these women love to promote these tropes about what black men aren't doing. Either you guys are being depicted as deadbeats. When we pulled out the facts from the CDC, Pew Research Institute, we do real work over here, and EU knows that because of the work we put in on our last time. But we have all this empirical and anecdotal data and facts that show that black men are the most attentive fathers, the best fathers, and the least abusive men. We have those stats too. But somehow, some way, they always like to shoehorn you into the conversation when they're talking about abusive men. Meanwhile, the men of their own cultures, or in the case of the divestors or these other groups of women, they are gravitating towards the very men who are doing the most as far as the abuse. I mean, this is insanity.
So women don't date them or whatever, I can see why they don't get along. But yeah, I feel like unambiguous black women and men both created a horrible collective image for themselves on YouTube. For men, it was the whole Kevin Samuels thing. They created a bad collective image that actually
Okay, so Kevin Samuel single-handedly created a bad collective image for black men, right? Even though he was an image consultant and he was the one that was actually trying to help black women clean up their horrible image. So therefore, that's tantamount to us having a horrible image, right? Yeah, well, again, that's the reason why we do the work we do over here. R.I.P. to Kevin. He did his part. What we're doing at this point is just pushing back against the propaganda. We're not necessarily trying to help you at this point. There are black women, a lot of different types of women that rock with our channel. That's cool. They can get from it what they will. However, what we're doing over here is pushing back against the propaganda that tries to distort our image. Because, speaking of what she's talking about, as far as the horrible image, most of that has come through propaganda, and it's untrue. Hence, the points that I just made uh, earlier about the fact that we have the actual facts about how black men rank as far as being fathers and mates, essentially, and how they're some of the best. And that's the reason why these women in these foreign countries, they're not propagandized, and that's why they flock to us when we go to these cultures. And oh yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that, because I think these women, somehow they think that when we get go to these other places, that these other women look at us like they do, and nothing can be further from the truth. And of course, we got receipts on that as well. But let's go.
Caused me to raise my standards because once I saw how ruthless the men are on the Kevin Samuels channel when they're like, oh, she's a 6 or she's fat or what's her dress size. Did you know that after that, I never dated shorter guys again?
Oh, okay. So someone tells you you're a 6, which would be a compliment as far as I'm concerned. But if someone tells you you're a 6, then all of a sudden you're gonna get butthurt about it, to the point where you're just gonna not date somebody who's possibly in your relative SMV or sexual market value. So you're gonna get that mad just because someone tells you what you actually are. Okay, but you'd rather turn to a bottle of bleach and all this other stuff to try to make that 6 a what, a 6.5. Let's go.
I stopped dating bald guys because I was like, well, if they're so strict on our looks and so strict on everything about women, then why am I even giving these average guys a chance?
Well, maybe it's because you're average and that's what is in your ballpark. You ever think of that? It's not about a guy just, trying to dish you by telling you what you are. I mean, this is crazy. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Like I said, I didn't want this to go as long, but, as you guys are listening to this, you see the importance of me needing to push back at all this foolery. So I hope you'll rock with me. This I'm not sure how much longer we're gonna go, because I do have some other points I'm gonna hit, but I'm gonna try to hit those points fast. But this will be shorter than a broadcast. So if you can rock with me on a 2-3 hour broadcast, you can rock with me on this, because it's not gonna be as long as that. But I gotta push back at this ridiculous uh, these ridiculous talking points, because it's just blatantly false. But let's get a little bit more, and we're gonna move on.
I'll just be single then. I'll just decenter them. But she says they are better off accepting.
So that's what is the root of her decentering, because some guys are telling her essentially that she's basically average. And so rather than her accept that, and she wants to be this exotical beauty queen or whatever she's in her little twisted Joker mind fancies herself as, because they're not participating in her fantasy, then somehow that's grounds for her to quote decenter them. Interesting.
Themselves for who they are because any Horn African knows that our genes are recessive AF. The truth is, only two Habashas can create a Habasha.
Now that part is true. They are very recessive, and again, that would speak to the fact that they're not 100, that they're not unmixed. So contrary to what she said earlier, that she was framing it as though Habashas, and by that extension Ethiopians, are not mixed. If they were not mixed, if they were like the ancient Ethiopians or the ancient Kushites, then their genes would be dominant. But anyway, they are very recessive. But let's go.
And two Somalis can create a Somali, etc. I have seen many examples of children who are half Horn African and half another ethnicity, and the phenotype is literally obliterated within a generation and max within 2 generations. The child generally takes on more of the traits of the non Horner parent. I am not a geneticist, so I can't explain
Apparently.
why this is, but it might have to do with the fact that the Horner phenotype laid the blueprint for the rest of humanity since humans are thought to have originated from this region of the world. Ah, shit.
Yeah, and like I said before, this is so ridiculous, and you could tell EU got all excited and moist and damp and whatever. That's the type of idiotic junk science she just really loves. I'm gonna prove that that's blatantly, patently false. That their phenotype was what was the original archetype or prototype human being in that area. They were not even there, and I'm gonna prove it. But it's just funny that she got all hot and bothered by that ignorant Habesha woman claiming that her particular group is the stock of human being that was there in the beginning, and it's really sad. But let's go.
So you're saying exoticals are the actual blueprint?
Absolutely not.
Oh, they're going to call you racist for saying that.
No, I'm gonna call you an idiot, and I'm gonna prove it.
But she says it's just a very unique phenotype, so I'm not sure why these self hating, desperate men think they are going to recreate that. I think.
Okay, again, if there are some men who have dominant genes that they don't understand genetics, and because they want to mix with you because of their own mental illness and delusion and self-hate, then that's them. But don't try to extrapolate that to the whole of us, right? Because many of us know who we are, and we don't give a damn about trying to dilute our genes with your recessiveness. But I'm gonna deal with something real quick just to prove my point and to show you how ignorant both of them are. Um, because EU really love that point that this woman made, that somehow they're the quote blueprint. Let's see how true that is. Let's get it. Let me pull up this video. It's going to show the origin of the Habesha. I tried to play it on the other broadcast, but I don't think it came through well.
Descendants of the Habeshat. The Habeshat were a South Semitic tribe that lived within the borders of the kingdom of Hadramaut.
Okay, so you see this right here. This is where they are originally from. This right here is the Horn of Africa, right? You can see it right there on the left. On the right, you see way over there, on the far right, the Habeshat. That's where they are documented to originate it from. As you can tell, whatever was going on in Africa for the thousands of years, including the first human beings, that's not their original origin. Maybe later with the out of Africa theory, they came out and later mutated with Neanderthals or whatever, kind of like what a lot of the, rest of the human race did outside of the actual Africans. But clearly they came from somewhere else, and we're going to get some more.
They were related to a tribe now known as Meri. Habesha were exiled to the Horn of Africa on orders from the then Habeshat king, Jederet.
Okay, so they were exiled from the Arabian Peninsula. You just heard the guy say that, and this is all documented. I've done research on it. They were exiled from where they were from originally. So how are you claiming that you're part of the prototype human being when your stock was coming from a whole nother place? Interesting.
This order was given for unknown reasons, but many speculate that it was for the foundation of a colony. They spoke a South Semitic language very similar to Guizi and Meri. Once they migrated to the Horn of Africa, they
Once they migrated to the Horn of Africa. So remember, these are the original stock of people that would later become the Habesha, and he's going to later, this is a very short video, but he's going to point out the fact that there were, various incursions. I think one was 3,000 years ago where they were mixed at that point, and then later on with subsequent Arab incursions, they were later mixed as well. That's the reason why their genes are recessive, and it's the reason why they have the phenotype that they do. But many of them will fancy themselves like they're just 100% African. But I'm going to show you some DNA tests, in a few that's going to kind of, debunk all of these mythologies. But let's go.
collaborated with another South Semitic group, the Agotzi people, and founded many kingdoms such as Damat, Adulis. During this time, they maintained close contact with their South Semitic relatives overseas. The last Habeshat migration happened before the birth of Christ and after the rise of Islam and the invasion of Arab tribes into southern Arabia. The Habeshat people ceased to exist. This makes modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea the last bastion of South Semitic civilization. The Meri who live in Arabia today are not the same as those who lived there before Islam.
Yeah, but anyway, that proves the point. I just wanted to show you that. Um, and I'm gonna give you some other stuff right here because at this point I'm just gonna start running through some of these clips and breaking them down. I think EU's goofy talking points, I've dissected them enough to where you can see that she's clearly off her rocker. What else would you expect from the Joker, right? But let me show you something else here. And this is not just the Habesha, but the Ethiopians in general and why they're mixed, because a lot of them are mistaking themselves as pure Africans and they pride themselves in that. But in actuality, they are heavily miscegenated. Now, again, I'm not pointing this stuff out to put them down, but I'm just, you got to put people in their place because you got like this Habesha woman who's talking greasy and meanwhile, they're trying to claim like they're 100% African. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't be sitting up here trying to pride yourself as having all these exotic features, and somehow, some way, someone's just seeking after you because you're so exotic. But then you're trying to claim our actual lineage. Those of us who can literally trace ourselves back to the earliest human beings in terms of being uh, pure African or having far less admixture than yourself. So, we're not playing that game with this kind of racial apartheid system where you get to be an outsider and you want to come stack yourself on top, trying to demean actual black people while simultaneously trying to put yourself on a pedestal. We ain't playing that game, but let's get it.
Ethiopians look so distinct from other Africans? The answer isn't as simple as you think. Many comment on how Ethiopians appear as if they're half Arabic, and based on geography reach the conclusion that Ethiopians are simply half African and half Arabic. First of all, there are lots of different groups in Ethiopia, but when people make those comments, they're usually talking about either Semitic-speaking Habeshas or the Cushitic people like Oromos. Cushitic people came about from a very ancient admixture which happened.
Okay, and like I pointed out before, the actual Kushites were the 100% Africans, the more like the Neolotics that you see. And I think he's going to mention it in this video. But then later, there was an admixture and that created the current stock of, and like I just pointed out in the other video, that's how you get the Habeshas and why they look the way they do. But let's go.
Anywhere from 7 to 15,000 years ago and was between Proto-Nilotic.
So that's more or less the Nilotic phenotype right there, right? Just depicted in that picture. Those are the original people. Those are your Nubians, your ancient Egyptians. Those are the actual stock of the pure African that a lot of the modern Ethiopians are claiming to be, but they are the admixture between this group and the Arabs and other so-called Semitic groups. And it's a damn shame that you got to get your education over here on the Night Riders because your parents failed you and your community failed you. To all the Ethiopians that may be listening. Let's go.
And Omotic peoples of the region and a West Eurasian population from the Levant. However, what's fascinating is that the Levantine part of the admixture actually migrated back to East Africa, which is why their paternal haplogroup, which is E1, is East African in origin.
Okay, so that's a key point because a lot of times when these Ethiopians and so forth, when they take a DNA test, specifically if they take one and they trace their paternal lineage, it always goes right back up into uh, Saudi Arabia somewhere, right? Now, their maternal haplogroup could take them in Africa. That's where a lot of them hold on to that part because it was a tradition, even in Arab culture, where a lot of the Arab men would impregnate the African women. And, there was a huge time of the Arabian slave trade. And in some cases, it's still kind of going on. Um, and that was the reason why a lot of their lineage goes back up into their on their father's side in particular. And the only traces of African that they can, that will take them further back in history is on their maternal side through their mitochondrial DNA. But we don't want to get too technical because I know EU is not is sophisticated enough to understand that kind of stuff. But let's go.
Despite centuries of admixture in the Levant, Habeshas, meanwhile, are very similar to the Cushitic peoples in Ethiopia. However, they've received an additional Middle Eastern input more recently, around 3,000 to 4,000 years ago.
Okay, so it says a Middle Eastern input. So for that, read, like I said, the Arabs or the Asiatics, these non-black groups. So again, for all the talk that a lot of them have, because they're ignorant to their own past, they'll just claim that they're 100% African. Part of that is because they want to claim the land, the history, the cultures like ancient Egypt, ancient Kush, ancient Ethiopia. All of these were 100% unambiguous black civilizations. This is documented. They want to hitch themselves to that by saying they're 100% African because they don't want to accept the fact that they are descendants of basically invaders. And so they have the psychological comfort of deluding themselves into thinking that they are 100% African, which would also tie them into the claim that they are, part of the original phenotype of humanity, kind of like what that Habashah was trying to say in that letter, and EU got all moist about, which is totally inaccurate. But let's go.
Which is why Habeshas speak Semitic languages and not Cushitic languages, and they also have a high prevalence of haplogroup J, which
And haplogroup J is basically Caucasian, or from the Caucasus. Let's go.
is dominant in Middle East and the Caucasus.
Yeah, that's what the guy just said. So a lot of them are shocked when they find out that they have Caucasian DNA, because a lot of them swear that they're just 100% black, right? I'm going to show you some actual evidence to this too, because again, we do work over here. We don't play games like the Joker. Let's go.
Which is why Habeshas have slightly more Western Eurasian admixture than Cushitic people like Somalis or Afars.
Yeah, so there you have it. And yeah, but we got more. We got more. Oh, and let me show you something else, because there seems to be this notion that somehow black men are just running up behind all these cultures of women. And I'm here to tell you, you have women even from those cultures that are trying to get you with their women. This woman right here, I'm not sure what her background is, but I want you to pay attention to what she's saying. She might be from that part of the world, but I have heard other women like her, or I've heard women who are from Ethiopia, from other these places, and they will encourage black men, particularly unambiguous black men, to come over there and get with them. So it's just kind of funny. But watch what she says. And by the way, that water running in the background, that's her side. I guess she had a fish tank or something next to her. But anyway, I just need a small portion of what she's gonna say. Let's go.
Guys doing? I miss you guys so much. I got a little 70s look going on right now, and yes, this is my real hair.
Well, I think she's a little exotical, so that's I guess EU might be able to relate to this. Let's go.
It's full, it's long, it's thick. I love it. It's natural, child, and we're about to get it right on in. So today's video is going to be called Black Men Get Your Own Woman. And you can start by doing that by going to Ethiopia.
Okay, so she's telling, quote, black men to get our own women, which she would say were Ethiopian women. And again, I just showed you that a lot of the Ethiopians are highly admixed, but the prevailing thought with many of them is that, like, they're just regular black people, right? So again, I'm not quite sure what her background is, but she's encouraging black men to go over there to Ethiopia to get women. And I have seen videos with Ethiopian women themselves encouraging black men to go over there. But let's go.
Now, Ethiopian men, don't be mad at me, but y'all got a lot of beautiful women up there. Y'all can share some. Don't be greedy. But instead of telling black men to go to Thailand, why not tell them to go to Ethiopia?
And it's like I said before, a lot of the travel destinations for, say, the passport bros, for example, they're not really going over there like that. That's the reason why she feels compelled to make this video, and the other ones that make those type of videos, because it's not a destination. So my question to EU and this Habesha chick, if your features are so sought after, why is that not even a part of your destination? The black men that do go over there, those are the guys who are the family oriented guys who want a more traditional woman. They're not just looking at her, quote, phenotype, they're looking at her culture. See, they don't want to talk about that. See, they want to spend goofy moments of their life overemphasizing phenotype and hair texture and complexion and dumb stuff like that, when men who are more marriage minded, they're looking for women with traditional values. And that's why a lot of the guys who are traveling over there, that's what they're going for. They're not necessarily going because of their phenotype. If they wanted that phenotype, they don't have to go way over to the Horn of Africa. Hell, you can get women like that in South America. You can go to Brazil, you can go to all these other places, right? And that's where they go. You know, a lot of the guys who like to just, you know, have their fun and what have you, it's a lot closer to get that. You can get women that look just like that, or even, you know, got better bodies or whatever in Brazil or the DR. And that's where a lot of the guys go. But to demonize the guys who might be interested in the Ethiopian women, and those are the ones who are typically more marriage minded, is really despicable. But like this girl is saying, she's trying to encourage them to go over there as opposed to going to Thailand and some of these other places, because it's not high on the list in terms of the a destination. Contrary to this point, the EU and this woman who wrote her is trying to make. But let's get a little bit more what she has to say.
That way you can find a beautiful black woman that's a reflection of themselves, if that's what they want. So, the Ethiopian woman is consistent loving, she's submissive, you know, she loves unconditionally.
Right, and that's why a lot of guys might go over there. You know, again, there may be the guys who like the phenotype as well, and you know, and there's no problem with that. You know, a preference is a preference. But again, those are the guys who typically are the ones who want the more traditional women. But again, it's just really sick that they're just demonizing these guys, um, simply because they may have a preference like that, and they're trying to make them seem like they're all thirsty. It's really ridiculous. Oh yeah, let me hit this video right here, um, to show you that there's actually a history of black men who were actually going to fight for Ethiopia when back in the 30s, when it was invaded by Italy. It's just a short clip, but it illustrates my overall point of how these women are so bereft and ignorant of history that they will demonize men who have historically done some of the most heroic things in history, up to including African American men. That, you know, the same one, this Habesha chick, who her forefathers probably were saved by these very men that I'm going to show you right here, while she's trying to demonize them and run them through the mud. Meanwhile, some of our forefathers were going over there to get their butts out of a crack when the Italians were over there kicking their asses up and down the Horn of Africa. But meanwhile, she can come online talking all this madness. And in history, this was the type of thing that African American men were doing. Let's go.
37. What is your weight?
150 pounds.
Height?
5'3".
Just what is your profession?
I'm a physician.
Physician. And then why would you want to go over in Ethiopia?
Well, I feel it's my duty, give my profession, and if necessary, my life in the cause of Ethiopia.
They saw Ethiopia as a special symbol of the whole continent.
Now look at all these black men, professional black men. One of the guys just said he was a doctor. When Italy was over there invading, killing all those Ethiopians, the black men of America were so heroic, so courageous. Even in spite of all the things that they had to battle in America, they felt compelled because they felt so sorry for those Ethiopians, because they didn't have the means to defend themselves against a modern army like Italy. These men were volunteering in the early 1900s to go over there and help their people. But then you got these women coming out here trying to demonize the image of the American black man. You see, that's why we got to do this work, fellas. Let's go.
Until now, it alone had not been seized by white Europeans. Such people volunteered to fight for Haile Selassie, although only a handful managed to go, or they organized to send relief.
Black Americans rallied towards the cause, and black Jamaicans likewise. And
yeah, so again, that's just showing you that there was this one directional help, and that's why a lot of people are starting to delineate now because they understand that this history has not been reciprocated, at least properly, especially you got dimwits coming out here that don't know history and they just think everybody's sweating them or something like that. And they take that as an occasion to try to diss people and they don't even know their own freaking history. They don't know their genetic history and they don't know their cultural history. But let me go to another point that I wanted to make. And that is with this whole idea about the DNA, right? And like I said, I'm going to show you some receipts because I made a statement that black genetics or African genetics are the gold standard, right? And you know how I get down over here. When I say it, I can prove it. Let me give you some examples of some of these people who are exotical. You know, since Exoticals United always wants to play up how valuable it is to be mixed, I'm going to show you instances where these people are taking DNA tests and they don't seem too thrilled to find out that they're not really African or they're not as African as they thought they were, right? Meanwhile, when they find out they do have some African in them, they are literally having damn near a ticker tape parade. Black genetics is the gold standard. Contrary to the uh, dichotomy between the social economic situation, which is artificial, and we all know that because historically, uh, black people were associated with power and wealth until it was stolen. Essentially, they even trying to steal our actual history itself. Case in point, they were trying to claim that Mansa Musa was a white man. I had never heard that until recently. Somebody said that some goofy person was trying to make a video about that. But case in point, I got a short clip on Mansa Musa real quick to show you what black people were
Kingdom of
really
Mali from 1312 to 1337.
were really about. So this is what we're supposed to be associated with, but unfortunately, people with less integrity and honor than what we had culturally came in and kind of stolen it. But that's the reason why we have to do this work so that we can get back to our rightful place. But let's go.
Was one of history's wealthiest individuals. With an estimated net worth of $400 billion, his kingdom spanned West Africa, prospering from trade in salt, ivory, and gold. In 1324, during his pilgrimage to Mecca,
And this is West Africa, so you can't blame some Arabs. In fact, it was the Arabs when they found out how wealthy he was. That's what helped prompt some of those Arab invasions because he was so rich. He basically uh, crashed the the Egyptian economy because he was giving out so much gold. And again, that's one of the faults of the unambiguous black people. We've been so rich and wealthy and generous throughout history, and we just kind of wanted to share our wisdom and everything with everybody. And everybody else did not operate on the same code as we did. So therefore, a lot of these people, the word word travels fast, right? And that's up in Europe. They heard about it, and up in the Arabian Peninsula, and that's what later started a lot of those incursions into Africa when they realized how wealthy we were. But let's get a little bit more.
he traveled with an entourage of tens of thousands, each camel carrying 136 kilograms of gold. When he went to Cairo, he gave away so much gold to the people that the value of gold in Egypt decreased for the next 12 years. Mansa Musa also invested in education and architecture, bringing architects from the Middle East and Africa to build libraries,
But the black man ain't never built nothing, right?
universities, and schools in cities like Timbuktu and Gao. His huge wealth even made its way to Europe, where medieval maps depicted him on a throne holding a nugget of gold and golden staff, symbolizing his vast riches. For more mind-blowing history,
Yeah. So this is actual history. So this is the type of stuff that these bleach articles, because they're so bleached physically and mentally, they don't understand any of this stuff. But again, I'll be their digital daddy and help educate them. And that's the function of me over here, is to help deprogram some of the propaganda and foolery that the Joker is out there spreading. So that's what a a person of my caliber needs to do to push back against these supervillains that are out here misleading people. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. But let's get a little bit more. We're not going to be too much longer, guys. But I did want to hit on this DNA point because I think it's very crucial to what I'm saying, and it's going to prove a lot of the points that I've made. Now, this particular woman right here, she's Ethiopian.
So today I'm
And watch her reaction when she finds out what her actual admixture is. Watch this. I'm gonna fast forward to it. Um, watch this.
she is black because she's African that before. And when I asked my parents, I was like, I wonder where I'm from now, you know? Like I never really thought about it. I just thought since my family tree goes straight to Ethiopia, there's not really any question about what else I would be mixed with.
Okay, so they don't understand the actual history, and they just think because they are sitting on the continent of Africa that somehow they were just always there. It's really sad. But let's go.
So as I said before,
Let me fast forward to our results.
as I was asking my parents about their family tree, apparently there is a chance that I might have Italian mixed in me too, because Italy invaded Ethiopia.
Yeah, that's why I said earlier. So she at least went in thinking she may be somewhat mixed, but she was not prepared for the level of mixture she had. But I don't want to spoil it. Let's go.
Twice, once during the 1890s.
And I showed you the black men from America going over there to try to save them, right? So let's go.
I think it was 1895, and the second time was during 1935. And so my parents are both the second to youngest out of their family of 8 or 9 siblings. And so their parents were a lot older by the time they had them. So their parents were born in like the early 1900s. So I know for a fact that nobody in my family tree mixed with Italians in the 1930s because my grandparents were already alive by then. But
okay, so let me just get to the results. Interesting history, but you know, we don't have a lot of time here. But this part right here is pretty interesting. Watch this. This is crazy.
Our own independent country. My brother's MacBook right here, just so I can record the screen. And now I'm going to find out what my genetic history is made up of. I read in the pamphlet that most Africans won't have any Neanderthal in them.
Okay, so she said that most Africans won't have any Neanderthal in them, right? Yeah, that would mean unambiguous, unmixed Africans, not you. But because of her mentality and she thinks that she's just an African and she doesn't know her actual history of the legacy of the not just the Italian invaders, but the Arab invaders, and how she is not the same stock as an ancient Ethiopian or an ancient Kushite who did not have Neanderthal DNA because they were not admixed. She is admixed, so she's kind of shocked that she actually has some Neanderthal DNA. It's kind of sad. Let's go.
But apparently I have 0.6% Neanderthal.
So again, this is the type of shocking revelations that they come up with because of the lack of understanding about history and who they actually are. Let's go.
And the average is 2.1%. So that's interesting.
Watch this.
So I'm going to explore the results of this first because I want to figure out what that means. What?
Look at her face. She cannot believe her eyes that if you look at that map, it shows all up in Europe, all up in Saudi Arabia. She's thinking it's only going to be in the Ethiopia or in the Horn of Africa. Her genetics are all over the place, and she's shocked. Let's go. She's going to even ask, is it her? Let's go.
Is this me?
And it's that, look, I'm not making fun of her because of, you know, it's just the ignorance. And that's the reason why we do this work is because you got people that they just don't know certain things. And again, I'm not saying she's bad or anything for not knowing this, because her parents failed her, the culture failed her, and they were just teaching themselves that they're just Africans and wanting to equate themselves to the actual indigenous Africans. Meanwhile, her genetics goes all over the map essentially, and she's shocked and she can't even believe that it's her. Let's go.
I don't understand that.
So she don't even understand it.
I'm just gonna go back. Oh my god, okay. I'm 56% East African.
So she thought she was either going to be 100% or at the very least a higher percent of East African, but she found out she's only 56% East African. Let's go.
That's crazy. Both my parents were born and raised in Ethiopia.
Yeah, just like somebody who's a Boer in South Africa whose parents actually came or grandparents came from the Netherlands. Yeah, their parents may have been born in South Africa, but their genetics is going to take them back up into Europe, just like hers takes hers back up into the Arabian Peninsula. But let's get some more.
My whole family tree, at least that I knew of, stems from Ethiopia, yet I'm only 56% East African. What am I?
So again, this is what happens when people lie to each other with the one drop rule and all this other goofy stuff. That's the reason why we say the stuff that we say, because it leaves a bunch of confusion and ignorance. And then the mental illness from some self-hating people will put this on a pedestal. Meanwhile, they want to be more of what the unambiguous people are. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to prove it. Herself, she's going to later on talk about how disappointed she was. And she thought, she couldn't believe that she was this much had this much admixture. But I'm going to show you some examples of people's reactions, these exoticals, when they found out or before they got their DNA test, how much they really wanted to be more African, which is kind of funny because it flies in the face of what you might think, right? Because you would think since we're as unambiguous black people, we're on the bottom and everybody's trying to get the hell away from us. But it's kind of funny how everybody wants to be us at the same time and try to take everything that we have, including our own history, right? Let me give you an example.
Over these ancestry results. I did this a few years ago. Recently, they updated my results, which
now here's an exotical, right? Watch what this exotical has to say.
They do when they get more samples in. A little background knowledge about me. My mother was adopted. My father did not know his father. So that is something that already sparked my interest in checking out my ancestry. And I know there's so many different viewpoints on doing ancestry, guys. The government already got my DNA. I'm not worried about that. I've had immunizations, vaccinations. I'm out of where they say my ancestry spans. I can see stuff in a little bit in Europe, a little bit in America, but mostly we're looking at West Africa into South Africa area. Even though I'm a Black American, I do find a lot of pride in knowing that I come from the continent.
Okay, so this is an exotical, but she says she's found pride knowing that she came from the continent, right? But watch this.
So let's go into it a little bit more. So already what we're looking at,
well, watch this. Watch what she says about her admixture.
I did this maybe in 2017 or 2000 and Ghana and stuff, because European stuff is completely linked to indigenous America.
Okay, so she's showing more pride in the fact that she has the more West African lineage, but she's clearly an exotical. EU would be proud to have her phenotype without the bleach. This is her actual skin tone. But watch what she says.
Slave trade, it has very horrific ties.
She's talking about her European lineage, because she did have some European lineage on her test. But watch this.
And stuff, because European stuff is completely linked. Nigeria, East Central and stuff, because European stuff is completely linked to the transatlantic slave trade. Indigenous Americas North 1%, and Sweden and Denmark 1%. I don't care about the European stuff because
She said she don't care about the European stuff. That's literally part of her lineage, right? So my question is, that's what makes her exotical, right? I mean, if not for that part, she would be an unambiguous black person. So based on what she's saying, this exotical would prefer to be an unambiguous black person because she's going to say that the European part is linked to the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, and she's just basically going to blot it out of her mind. But that is exactly part of her genetics. But it's kind of interesting that so many people like her who have this admixture, they always want to play up the black side while downplaying the European side and the other admixtures they may have. But meanwhile, I'm supposed to believe as an unambiguous black person that I need to look down at myself and look up to an exotical, like those goofy ass pictures that EU had. Meanwhile, the actual exoticals want to be more like me. I mean, who knew? But let's go.
the European stuff is completely linked to the transatlantic slave trade. It has very horrific ties to my lineage. I don't have any direct European ancestors like a grandparent. This is all coming primarily from the transatlantic slave trade, from slavery in North America. And that is just something that I am not proud of. I'm proud of my ancestors that were able to persevere through such horrific times and get me here, but I am not proud of that ancestry. I could care less about the Irish ancestry, about the Wales, the Scotland, the Sweden and Denmark. I could really give a hoot about that. I don't care about that. So you won't see me really dive into that at all.
Okay, so there you have it. So this is an exotical who is basically denouncing a whole part of her genetic lineage. And if you let her have a choice, she would want to be an unambiguous black person. So there you go. But we're not done. We're not done. Here's some more. See, this is for the people who are not mentally ill. This is how people actually think.
Be more black. That's all. That's all I had wanted. I didn't want to be a part of colonization.
Wait a minute. What did she say? Hold on. Now, this is another exotical. So Exoticals United, maybe they didn't get the memo that you've been trying to put out here. They didn't get the Joker post-it notes that you've been trying to post everywhere about how great it is to be an exotical. So this is an exotical woman, right? But watch what she says when it came down to her DNA. Let's go.
I just wanted to be more black. That's all. That's all I had wanted.
So she don't want to be more exotical. She wants to be more black, meaning unambiguously black, meaning unmixed. So why would someone want to pedestalize being exotical when the actual people who are exotical deep down, when it comes to their actual DNA, forget all this social stuff when it comes to, these artificial privileges and all that, on a carnal, base, psychological, physiological level, they understand that it's better to be unambiguous because they don't want to be associated with all of the negative legacy of what came about through their admixture. See, that's someone who's actually not mentally ill. They understand the reality of the situation and that they're not caught up in some artificial aggrandizement based on some BS privilege that is based on mental illness. That's the actual mentality of a lot of these people, and that's the reason why the one drop rule was so pervasive in the culture, because there were a lot of people who ran to it because they didn't want to even accept that they had any admixture. They would prefer to cosplay that they were just an unambiguous black person. But yeah, let's get a little bit more.
I didn't want to be a part of colonization.
When she's acting, and this was an Afro-Latina, and then there's more of that throughout this whole video. Most of them just wanted to see more black. But again, I thought the winning team was the Exoticals. Here's another example of someone who got their DNA test who's clearly an exotical, but she's ready to have a parade because she found out she had some black in her. Let's go. Some of you may recognize this chick. I think her name is Avery DuVernay. Let's go.
Can you read the percent?
Okay, now she's acting like that. Let me fast forward past this little intro. Because she's mixed and she was scared that she wasn't going to have. I think she still like got a large amount of white in her or something, but she wanted more black, and that's why you saw her do that little celebration. So my question is, if she's celebrating like this,
can you read the percent?
I'm black.
So you would think she won the lottery. So I mean, damn. I mean, if she's that happy for having 40% black or whatever the hell it is, if those of us who are 80, 90%, damn, we should be walking around looking like the Joker, you know, with a big smile on our face. It shouldn't be the damn exotical smiling all the time. It should be us, man. We should be the ones celebrating. She's literally celebrating just by having a percentage of the black that some of us have in us. But, you know, it's kind of funny how when it comes down to these tests, they're all happy to get to know that they have more black in them. But somehow you got people out here pretending like it's such a great thing to be an exotical. It's kind of weird.
I am black.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're blasted off to Sandra Man. Could you read those percentages?
57.3% African.
Okay, so she don't make our 80% rule, but hey, if she like it, it's whatever. You know, that's cool. We still would consider her mixed. She's almost biracial with that percentage. But again, I just want to prove the point that you'll see over and over and over again these people when they find out that they have a certain percentage of African in them, it's like the gold standard. I don't see nobody doing that for no other race. For all the talk about black people, oh, unambiguous this, unambiguous, you at the bottom. Oh, okay, well, yeah, that's an artificial construct. In the reality of the situation, with nature, melanin, history, culture, resources, the gold standard is being an unambiguous black person, and that's what these people are acting like. We got more. We got more. Oh, we got another Ethiopian situation. We got an Ethiopian couple, and the wife is actually going to be taunting the husband because she got more African in her than he does. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't think we were going to go here and show actual examples of people celebrating about how much unambiguousness they have in them. EU, eat your heart out. Let's go. They're not celebrating being exotical, right? They're celebrating how much African they got in them. Let's go.
All right, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's get it.
So this, I'm gonna. Don't look at the laptop.
All right, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Now these are Ethiopians, and clearly you could look at them and tell that they're mixed. But watch this.
So I'm going to talk about your haplogroups first. So Mama, her haplogroup is called R0A.
Well, let me fast forward because I want to get to the point where she's actually going to be comparing how much African they have. Let's go.
Good 9.
Maybe you're upside down.
Because he thought he was 100% African. That's what he said.
You wish. Your mama's ancestors, the example populations that they give are Saudi Arabs, Yemeni Jews.
So he's freaking Saudi Arabian, Yemeni Jews, but he's in Ethiopia thinking he's 100% African. This is crazy.
And Bedouins.
Yeah, like I said, I told you, right?
You said Yemen.
Yes,
yeah.
Yemen.
For your dad are
Let's go.
Algerians. You are...
Oh my God, what?
Ready?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm waiting for you.
63.6%.
63?
63.6% East African.
I knew it.
Okay, so he's 64%. So again, he doesn't make our 80% 2x4 rule, but again, he was hoping that he was 100%. That's what this was about. I'm just trying to get to the point with this video, but when we saw it, we were like, okay, they were kind of having a competition about who was more African, but let's go.
Almost.
Almost what?
I was too close.
Half.
I did the 75, right?
Yeah.
East African, 63.
Mine was.
But even when they're saying East African, that's still part of the admixture. See, that's the thing. They're using the term East African as if that is the equivalent of being like a Bantu or something. Meanwhile, it's just mixed people, multiplying among themselves like the Habesha. So just because it says East African, that still does not equate to being, an unambiguous African. But let's go.
54%. Okay. You are less than 0.1% West African.
Oh my God.
See, look how sad he got. She said he was less than 0.1% West African. He looked sad after that. And watch her. I think she has a little bit more West African than him, and she's going to be flexing on it. Let's go.
You have no West African in you. I had 6% West African, so I'm more West African than you. And then.
So you see that little, let me play that back. Look at that. Look at that little dance she did to be West African. So those of us who are 80, 90% West African, what the hell we look like feeling bad when they are scraping and scrapping just to get a small percentage. She got 6% and she's doing a happy dance. Are you kidding me? Let's go.
I had 6% West African, so I'm more West African than you.
So she just rubbing it in his face. And look at his face. He's sad. He wanted to be more West African. She's like, oh, I got more than you. She's flexing on him because that is the genetic gold mine. That is the genetic gold standard. But meanwhile, you got the Joker out here bleaching herself, trying to convince people that the exoticals are so sought after. This is stupid. I mean, the point is proven. I'm just rubbing it in at this point. But let me get another one. This one's kind of sad because this woman right here was shocked because she's actually kind of darker. Because I know we've been focusing on the ones that clearly look miscegenated. But watch this one. This one right here I found pretty interesting because she's actually darker complected. But
welcome back to my channel.
Her reaction is going to be priceless when she finds out that she's her maternal lineage actually does not go to West Africa, which is possible because I think maybe on her father's side it does, but her mitochondrial DNA goes up into Europe, but she's gonna break it down. But she's gonna break that down, but she's also gonna damn near have a breakdown when she finds out. But let's go.
Taken by men. So I took to you guys how many times I've been told this, and so
I'm just gonna fast forward to the reaction. Let's go.
The envelope is empty. I have this.
So look how happy she is. This is before, because she did this video in real time live. I mean, she had not seen it prior, so she was sharing with her audience at the same time that she would find out what particular tribe she was coming from in the West Africa. And so she made it a whole thing, and she was so happy to get the results, right? But watch this.
And this. So what do I do first? Welcome to the African ancestry family. Oh God, I'm literally like shaking right now. Oh gosh. Okay. So what does it say? Oh my gosh. I barely can read because I feel like I'm shaking. It is with great pleasure. Oh my God. I can't even read this right now. I can't believe I'm about to find out my results. It is.
Now remember, this anticipation and happiness is because she wanted to know specifically what West African tribes, because West African tribes are cool like that apparently, and everybody wants to have some West African in them without wanting to admit it, and everybody want to play like it's not like the coolest thing ever to be part West African. But meanwhile, when they get the DNA test, they're highly disappointed when they don't come back the way they want, as you're going to see shortly. Let's go.
With great pleasure that I report your matriclan analysis determined your oh my god, I literally cannot speak straight. Focus, Nia, focus. Let me start over. It is with great pleasure that I report our matriclan analysis determined your maternal lineage to be of European ancestry.
European ancestry.
Well, wait a minute. Ain't that a good thing? How come you don't want to be from Europe, right? How come the celebration stops when you find out that your maternal, and it's just her mother's side, right? Her maternal lineage, according to her DNA results, goes into Europe. And you can look at the look on her face, and that tells you everything you need to know. So my question is, why is she not happy that she's an exotical? Because she's a dark exotical at this point, right? She's clearly, got some black in her, but apparently not enough because, when she got these results, she got a long face. Meanwhile, she was hyperventilating with happiness at the prospect of learning her maternal lineage going back up into the Queens of Africa. But meanwhile, she finds out that she's from, on the mother's side, from Europe. But let's go.
The mitochondrial DNA sequence that we determined from your sample belongs to a non-African lineage in the haplogroup H. Our analysis encompasses hypervariable regions 1, 2, and 3. Blah, da, 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 da. You have inherited these segments of DNA from your mother, and they have been passed.
She taking this like she got diagnosed with a disease, man. This is crazy. But again, why do you have someone like the Joker, aka Exoticals United, out here creating this false narrative that everybody just wants to be exotical, and these, and everybody. I even showed you examples of East Africans that are wanting to be more West African. I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about here? Let's get a little bit more. But like I said, it's kind of sad because you can just see the hurt on her face. But yeah, maybe she just needs to take one for her father's side. Let's go.
On consistently from mother to daughter over the past 500 to 2,000 years, so they are unique to your maternal lineage. We analyze the variance within these regions to determine the parts of your DNA that you share with people within specific ethnic groups. Are they trying to tell me I'm white? I'm so confused. The HVR variants listed below indicate DNA sequence patterns that you share with European populations. The combination.
But the white people run everything, though, right? I mean, why don't you want to be white? I mean, isn't that the goal? Aren't people bleaching themselves to do this? Aren't people wearing wigs and all this to be white? But when it comes down to the actual DNA and the actual lineage, why does everybody want to be African? It's crazy. You would think they, on a deep level, they know something about the richness of being an actual unambiguous black person. And somehow, when they find out that they're not, their whole world comes crashing down. It's kind of interesting.
Of HVR variants determine your membership. The sequence similarity score represents our 100% confidence level in your result. Haplogroup H, sequence similarity score 100%. And then they have the nerve to say, we understand that this information may be difficult to absorb, you think? Especially if you were not aware of any European ancestry on your mother's maternal line. It is important to note that even though we did not...
She is a whole exotical, but somehow she's not proud of that. I think she would much rather prefer to be an unambiguous black person right about now. Let's go.
Find African ancestry for your maternal lineage. It does not mean that you are not African American. It does not mean that your mother is not African American, and it does not mean that you have no African ancestry anywhere in your family tree.
She just don't have as much as she would like, that's all.
Please feel free to contact one of the specialists in our office to discuss other lineages that you can test to find your African roots.
It reminds me of just like when Black Panther came out, you had all these exoticals that were angry that they were not depicted in the movie Black Panther, which, they did an actual pretty good job of depicting the cast as it would pertain to a civilization that had not been miscegenated or invaded, but psychologically they didn't want to accept that, and there were a lot of exoticals. I remember they were very upset and hurt that they did not see themselves being represented. In fact, I think it was a particular exotical, I forget her name, Sandberg or something. She's a mixed girl, and she was supposed to play one of the, I think, the sister to the main character, but they switched it and they got a more accurate depiction with the other girl that played it. And I just feel like that's the type of damage that's done psychologically with the one drop rule. And a lot of these exoticals, deep down and secretly, they are hoping that they can be more unambiguous. And when they get these DNA tests, it's a shock to the system when they realize just how miscegenated they are. And it's really sad. And of course, we can't control who we are, but we have to be realistic about that and stop playing these mental games and stop. Those of you who are listening to this, who may also listen to Exoticals United, you can understand the sane position over here versus the insane position that she has over there. But let's go.
Do you guys see this? It legitimately says, "You not African. You're European." I really feel some type of way. Like, I really thought I was about to learn something really new and interesting about myself, and I haven't.
Wow, that was cold right there. She said she thought she was going to find something new and interesting about herself, but she did not. So you don't find it interesting that you're an exotical, that you're actually, you look like a black person, but you actually have genetics that go back to Europe? That seems pretty interesting to me, but she said it wasn't even interesting. That's hard. But anyway, moving right along. But it's not just black people or people who may appear black that want to be more West African. It's actually non-blacks as well. Oh yeah, we're not done. We got a little bit more before we wrap up. I know I may have held you guys a little longer than what I anticipated, but I know you guys love this work. You love how we do over here. Once I get on my roll, you just gotta let me cook. Because we like it well done over here. But check this out. These are non-black people that want African in them as well. Oh yeah, we're showing it all tonight, or whenever you watch this. Check this out.
New York.
Now this was that show. I don't even watch this show, but this Ebro or whatever, this radio show 90 uh Hot 97 or whatever. And I never thought that Ebro dude was even black. I mean, I don't watch it, but every time I see him, I'm like, this dude is clearly grifting. But at any rate, they're getting their DNA results, and I want you to pay attention to certain things. Even him, they all wanted to be more black, and they were all competing, about who had the more black in them. It was really kind of interesting. But even the white boy on the crew, you could tell he was literally hurt and feeling left out that he does not have African roots. It's crazy. Well, I just want to show his reaction.
I'm like Scottish, Irish, and British. I'm just fronting like I'm a black dude.
Yo, but the internet loves
I mean, that's
that.
the internet.
Oh yeah, he said that too. But I just want to get to one particular part. The whole conversation is interesting, and he's an exotical, so he should be just proud of that. But even the white boy that's on the show, watch his reaction. He's going to say something particularly interesting that I want you to see. Let me get to it. And I think this woman right here, I think she's with 23andMe or whatever, that DNA outfit. I think she's always trying to be generous to people, even though she knows that some of these people aren't black. I think because what she does is go through the mitochondrial DNA, and some of these people on their mom's side, they may have some distant relative that was black, but it's weird because she never does the patrilineal side, which is passed down from father to son, the Y chromosome, but they always use the mother's side, trying to scrape together some traces of African DNA, but it's kind of weird, but that's a whole nother subject. But let me get to that particular point with this white guy, the one in the red sweater. He's going to say something pretty interesting.
So you share maternal genetic ancestry with the Yoruba people living in Nigeria today. Congratulations.
Now look at his face, right? He's going to say something that's going to be pretty interesting.
Thank
You got a little certificate?
I got a little certificate.
Yo, if anybody questions you, you got a certificate, kid.
I got a certificate, bro. I'm good.
And the next time you're in line in Africa and they tell you you're in the wrong line, you're in the wrong line.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be.
Y'all
in
heard
the
that story
Nigerian
before,
line.
Rosenberg? When he was in Kenya, the Kenyan official at the airport came up to him and yelled at him and told him he was in the wrong line.
Yeah, because it was like the tourist line, and it was the Kenyan line. And he tells me, you're on the wrong line. Like very, very forcefully. No, sir, you're in the wrong line. You need to be over here. And I'm like, but no, you're Kenyan. This is your line. I'm like, but my passport, American. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. You're in the right line.
I'm just so jealous of you because I've been dreaming of a certificate that I was black my whole life.
I don't think he's playing. You see this guy, because you can tell by the look on his face, but this is a guy that clearly probably has zero African in him, but he's actually hurt because he don't have African in him. It's kind of weird.
I think we should do you next.
All right, let's see. Maybe this is the moment
Yo,
of
you
truth.
blacker than me. Odds are you blacker than
No,
me.
I really don't think so, unfortunately.
Okay, so there you go. And I would let the rest of it play, but for the sake of time, because it's like the woman's going to feel bad for him, and she's going to be trying to piece together some, shoehorn some history in that maybe he might have some black in him. So it's really kind of interesting, but I'm making a point here because you have all this talk about exotic this, exotic that. Meanwhile, the genetic gold mine, apparently, this ain't me saying it. I already know who I am and what I am, and my esteem and everything reflects that. But it's funny, this weird dichotomy between the social economic condition of black people and how deep down psychologically so many people actually want to be black in spite of the conditions that we're in. So it's kind of weird. And this one's interesting too. We got another one. I got more, but I think this will be the last one that I show on this subject because I think the point has been abundantly proven. But this is on the quote reel. Never watched this show, but I thought this clip was interesting.
Yes, Jeannie.
So you know that
Oh, goodness. Me?
Jeannie Mai, she wanted some black in her in more ways than one, and she had it with young Jeezy, which whatever issues they're going through. But I want you to see between her and this other Latina chick how they're reacting to the prospect of having something even adjacent to being black. I think Jeannie's gonna find out that she got some South Pacific in her somewhere, which could be, because the Pacific Islanders, or there's a lot of black people down there. But just watch her reaction, and then I want you to watch the other. I think the other girl's name is Adriana or something. But just watch this.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
And Tamara, who's half white, she's, most of the time they just depict themselves as black. They don't even really acknowledge the fact that they're even biracial, but that's a whole other thing. Meanwhile, what happened to the exotical pride, right? But let's go.
Your DNA results came back 87% Asian. 83% of that was Asia East, but you had 13% that was specific.
So she looks confused because she thought she was all Asian, but wait till she finds out that percentage that's not Asian is it's Pacific Islander, which again, that speaks to a lot of the darker, more melanated, if you know anything about like Fiji and Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, there's basically black people down there. But watch her reaction.
Pacific Islander, which is 13% Polynesian.
Wow.
Polynesian, if you look
And the original Polynesians are black as well.
No, I've never known that. Wait, there's a little PI in me? Like,
Yes, there's a little PI
you
in you.
guys, I always wondered where there was like a weird little side of some swag that I'm not sure where it came from.
So again, they equate having these, even adjacency to being black with all of these cool attributes, because they can separate it when it comes down to a genetic level. It has nothing to do with the socio-economic condition of black people. It's just on a rich cultural talent, all these other things that they associate with being black. That's what they want a part of. So again, where's the appeal like this when people find out that they are exotical? That's all I want to know. Let's go.
Now you know. Yes, really? Wait, where would that come from? I know up to my great-grandfathers.
Okay, now let me get to the other Latina girl. Watch this.
Next.
All right, Adrian.
Oh, my palms are so sweaty right now. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So your DNA results came back 28% Native American.
Whoa! That's cool.
I
did not expect that.
Okay, now she was surprised that she was Native American, right? Okay, interesting reaction. Her eyes kind of bugged out. But watch, she's going to give it a rundown as far as what she is. And ironically, whatever little percentage of black, she saved, I guess, the best for last. But watch her reaction when she finds out the black percentage. Small though it may be, watch this.
Not done yet, though.
How?
57% European. 57%.
So she's basically a European, but watch this. And you got basically no reaction. I mean, she looked kind of surprised, but because I think she just fancies herself as being a Latina or whatever. But Spain is in Europe. But let's go.
I'm white?
Wait. Let's do it. Let her finish. Wait. We still have other regions to get to. There's more percent. There's more percent.
Keep going.
So there's 36% Iberian Peninsula. 36% Spanish thing.
Okay, we have from the same girl. We're
there you
European
go.
cousins. We all okay. They said we look alike in some of our pictures. Yes.
7% Italian/Greek. Oh wait.
What?
7% Irish.
Oh, what?
Everything. 5%.
So she's giving her all these different rundowns, but she's just kind of surprised a little bit, right? But she doesn't seem too overly excited, right? But watch this.
Western European.
Wait, you're saying a lot of white stuff.
Yeah.
You look at it, even her, she's like, oh, there's a lot of white stuff. But again, why not the excitement? I mean, these are good civilizations. Greece and Italy, they got nice history and all that, right? But watch this. What's the jackpot? What's the gold standard? Let's see.
I'm so confused right now.
Wait, I'm not done yet because I got more for you. West Asia, you're 8% Middle East.
So pretty much the Latinos get around. I'm convinced.
Okay, so look, she's just taking it all in stride. She gave, Middle East, all these different cultures. She just, Latinos get around, right? But watch this.
What is going on here? We are open arms.
Open arms.
What am I? Anything else?
I got one more for you.
Okay.
Uh-oh. You are 7% African.
You see it yourself, folks. There you have it. Nothing else moved. She literally jumped out the chair when she found out she had 7% African. But yet and still, I'm supposed to believe, as an unambiguous black person, that I need to be going around, sweating and being thirsty for all these other people. Meanwhile, they are thirsty to be a portion of what I am. She didn't jump out her chair for nobody else. She found out she was 7% African, and goddamn it, you thought she won the lottery. Let's go.
For like the past week, she's been walking around like, I know I'm black, y'all.
Okay, so it ain't just happened here. She was anticipating for the past week. Come on, man. I mean, for you black people out there, if you don't understand by now how valuable you are and not to listen to goofy bras like the Joker talking about, I showed you evidence. Where's her evidence showing people jumping out their chairs, finding out they're exotical? Well, where's the evidence? The secret sauce, genetically, the gold standard is being African. Case closed. There you go, people.
I feel it. I got it in me. It's here. They were never going to tell me I was black. I knew it. Asian in you too. Yo, but
you like a buffet of a person.
Yeah, and what's her name? This heavy set chick would know a little something about buffets. But anyway, that proves my point. And we're gonna wrap up on another note. And wow, we're a little over 2 hours in. Okay, all right. Well, I'm sure you guys would appreciate this work. So as I told you, we're not gonna go as long as we will doing a normal broadcast, so I'm going to be wrapping up. But I did promise you guys that I was going to give you a little bit of some eye candy with the top models, because we all know that the South Sudanese are killing the game. Not the Ethiopian women, for all the talk that Exoticals United has about how they're so sought after. All the major supermodels right now seem to be South Sudanese and nihilotic. So, like this woman right here. I don't know about you, but that's a very good looking woman right there with all that nice dark chocolatey skin. But anyway, I digress.
Whenever you're lonely, just call me, baby.
Yeah, but that right there is the actual original Horn of Africa occupants before the Arab invasions, and those are the ones that these mixed Ethiopians think they are, but they're not. So, yeah, in like this right here. And this right here.
I'm posting this video today, and if you are a returning,
so this is a South Sudanese woman, and she's just breaking down all of the different Sudanese models.
My OGs, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in once again. I am so happy and excited to talk about today's topic, which is about the top South Sudanese supermodels. Now, if you know this, the South Sudanese supermodels are dominating the runway, they're dominating the fashion world, the fashion scene, and of course, I'm here for it. I love it.
And you know what's so sick, Exoticals United? I've seen some of your original pictures when you were walking the catwalk. You could have passed for maybe a South Sudanese woman at one point before you dived into a vat of bleach and ace chemicals like the Joker. You probably could have gotten away with it, because right now, like she said, the Sudanese women are killing the game. Not the Ethiopian mixed chicks. No, no, no. Those unique, nihilotic, very dark, slender women like her phenotype, that's what's killing the game in the super. They're like custom made supermodels. So yeah, that's the real standard right there, and they're not even mixed. So I don't know how you explain that, Exoticals United, but I just want to inform you of this.
And I just get so excited when I see somebody who looks like me, who talks like me, who comes from the same place, who has the same height, has the same skin color, and we are being represented in the fashion industry and in the entire world. As a child,
yeah, I just wanted to show that, and then she goes on to kind of highlight some of them, but I just wanted to show you that to highlight the point that I'm making. And again, I did promise you also that I was going to dispel the notion that somehow all these West African men are beating down the doors of East African women. let me show you something so you can hear from the horse's mouth who West African men think are the most attractive women. I'm gonna let you hear it from their mouth.
Country in Africa has the most
Oh, you know what? This is an actual white guy. Who does he say is the most attractive?
attractive women.
Kenya.
Why?
Okay, so that's a white man. You know how much you guys value the white man's opinion. So he said that it was Kenyan women, right? So he didn't even say Ethiopia. But uh, let's see what else I got, because I think I got some West African guys who are pretty much dispelling this notion. Let me.
Coolest name, what's your name?
My name is Usman.
What about you?
Daniel Lawyer.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, I'm Olale Kolo.
And I think he's asking him like the top 3 or something. So Ethiopia makes the list, but I think on none of these guys' list is it number 1. It might be 3. A lot of these guys were saying their own country, which is, I believe, Nigeria. And then some of them were saying South Africa. I just wanted to show this to dispel what that Habesha chick said. Somehow all these West African and African American dudes were sweating her so hard. Meanwhile, when you ask these dudes, they're actually still in their countries that have not been brainwashed by self-hating black women who like to wear blonde wigs and bleach. They actually like the West African features more. But I just wanted to play that. I'm going to play a little bit of this.
For sure.
Please.
Yeshim. Timile.
Francis.
My name is Joshua.
Okay, what about you?
Okay, he's just introducing, but let me get to the questions. Let's get to the questions. See what he got to say. The question is, which African country has the most beautiful women, right? And they got their flags there. Let's go.
Gospel. Okay, what about you?
I'm Philip.
2, then 1.
Of course, Nigeria.
So why did you mention South Africa, Ethiopia, Nigeria?
Okay, so his ranking was Nigeria number 1. He put Ethiopia number 2. Okay, fine. And then South Africa 3. Some of them, they do the opposite. They'll do, I didn't see any of them that put Ethiopia 1. They may have put it at number 2 like he did. But most of them did their own West African women with their features number 1. And then some of them were saying Ghana and other West African countries as well. But I'm just going to play a little bit of this, and then we'll move on to the next point before we wrap up. Let's go.
South Africa, because of some resources, we all know that.
What the resources? What's the resources? Want to know the resources?
Verify. Oh yeah, I would say body structure. They've got amazing body structure. Not objectifying,
Not objectifying, guys.
So yeah, and then
So these are West African men in their own culture, and they put their own women as number 1. Not Ethiopian women or any other of the mixed women. Now, he did rank them high, this particular one, but again, I've seen some where Ethiopia wasn't even on the list, or it was maybe number 3, and then they put Nigeria number 1, Ghana number 2, or South Africa number 2, and things like that. But let's go.
Ethiopia, because I feel like they all have this like Indian vibe. They all look alike and very beautiful people. But Nigeria.
Okay, he said the Ethiopians, they kind of all look alike, but he still gave them a high ranking though, but he prefers his own West African women first. Let's go.
We are versatile. We have versatile people. We have all of the African structures, beauty, and all in one.
Beauty, brains, everything.
Everything in one.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I'll start with Ghana. 3 years.
Okay, Ghana 3.
Ghana 3 years. Then I would go to I'll say Ethiopia also, given the same reason.
Ethiopia too?
Yeah, then I mean Nigeria, maybe because I'm here and I mean I see a lot of fine girls everywhere. So
okay, so again, if you go through them, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you'll see it vacillating between Ghana. Some of them put Ghana number 2 or number 3, but I never saw any of them put Ethiopia as number 1. That's my point.
So for my number 2, that would definitely be South Africa. That was a very competitive
So I think he had Ghana number 3 and he had South Africa number 2.
choice between Nigeria and South Africa. But then the women there might just have the body structure, but yeah, we have beauty and brains. We have a lot of things, capacity. Like if you look into our economy, different space, political space, see a lot of women standing out. And so we have great women in Nigeria. Yeah. So my number 1 would definitely be my country, Nigeria. I don't know
which African.
Okay, so again, guys, that just proves the point. I just wanted to do that. I could go on with that, but I just wanted to push back at her BS narrative that all these West African guys and African American guys just running towards Ethiopia, and that somehow it's the miscegenated phenotype is just the standard for everybody. It's really sad, and I think we've thoroughly dispelled that. So we just have to put in some of this heavy work to push back at the Joker's foolery. Because over here at the Night Riders and me being the Dark Knight, we got to push back at the Joker. But I'm going to end on something that I think is pretty personal to the Zonicals United, because it would appear that at one point she understood that all this talk about beauty and stuff like that and in external phenotype was kind of vain, and somewhere along the line the Joker kicked in, and now she basically abandoned all her once cherished values. So do you remember this person, EU, before you got transformed to the super villain, the Joker? Do you remember this person? Right here, you should know what's coming.
Hi everybody, my name is and first of all, I just want to thank Juan for featuring me on his channel. And for all of you guys that may be watching this video right now, if you are not subscribed to Juan, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. He's got an awesome community over here. I just wanted to share with you guys my favorite scripture, and that is Proverbs chapter 31, verse 30. And it says, "Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised."
Hallelujah.
And the reason I love that scripture is because it really comforted me. And I'm a woman who came from a broken background. I had a father that was in prison. I grew up being bullied because I'm African American.
I thought you was exotical, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I can understand how that would psychologically damage you, but it looks like you were on the right path at first, but then you diverted into this, vat of ace chemicals, and it turned you into this monster, the Joker. I don't know what happened to you.
I had all kinds of body image issues. I even used to do corseting.
Corseting? God damn, that's painful, ain't it?
Wearing these metal waist trainers to try to make myself.
Damn, she went medieval on the ass.
Look skinnier, and all of this was because deep down inside I didn't think that I was valuable. I didn't understand my identity.
My, how things, the more they change, the more they stay the same.
But once I got the revelation of God's love for me, it totally changed my life. And so for all these women,
so you don't think he loves you anymore?
Women out there that may be watching this right now, I just want to encourage you and let you know that we serve a God who restores, and God loves you just the way you are. He didn't make a mistake.
Maybe you could be restored back to yourself from being the Joker. I don't know.
Mistake when he created your nose or your hair texture or
Amen.
The way your body looks. God loves you for who you are, and he has a plan and a purpose for you. All right? God bless you.
All right, so that was her in happier times, but she's since changed, did a complete 180, but it's kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe it was just her fate. Everybody has to find their way in this life, and everybody has their destiny, and hers was to be the Joker. We have the unfortunate evidence of her transition. She kind of morphed into that over time. She started out over here and then went over there and right there. So it's really sad, and I think that it kind of